what's wrong, but something isn't right. Don't feel I belong in the light. Passion has gone and love's taken flight. Things just feel heavy tonight. I'm tasting no tears, I'm fighting no fears, but still there's a hole in my heart. Not on my own, but I feel it sometimes. Wondering what should I do? For reasons unknown, I don't need to decide. It's true that I don't have a clue. I'm tasting no tears, I'm fighting no fears, but still there's a hole in my heart. I'm wasting no time, I'm losing my mind, here till the day I depart. Don't know what's wrong, something isn't right. I feel I belong in the light. Passion has gone and love's taken flight. Things just feel heavy tonight. Things just feel heavy tonight.
Alright, so, you're probably confused by the situation at least a little bit. So, the short and sweet is, if you recall last year, I kind of got infected with possessed, more like, with the spirit of the other. It's a sort of pseudo-demonic supernatural entity. It's spider-based. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Ask JMS about it. Critter Babylon 5. Boy, how do I phrase this? Basically, I had to suppress my other-based urges long enough to go on an Indiana Jones-esque adventure to receive a monkey paw to cure myself from the other. However, there was only one wish on the monkey paw left, and I had to use it to rid myself of the other regardless of the consequences. So basically, I've been spending the last 2 months in this dimension not too dissimilar from the one I'm used to being in, only this one is overrun with zombies. And I think this is my last day, October 31st, the anniversary of my possession, and at midnight tonight, which is very soon, I should be back in my my home dimension, my native dimension. In the meantime, though, let's review a comic. You know, since it's Halloween, I figure it's about that time. Let's see here. I'm sure I downloaded something before I left, and it's yeah. Well, that's just about my luck, isn't it? At least it's thematic. Oh boy, here we go. I hope that's framed okay. You'll have to forgive me under the circumstances. Marvel Zombie Singular. Marvel Singular Zombie. This book is written by Maxwell Prince, W. Maxwell Prince, William Prince. If that name doesn't mean anything to you, then don't be surprised, because it didn't mean anything to me either. I searched high and low for this guy on the internet. The only credit I could find for this guy's writing in anything ever was this one issue of Marvel Comics, Marvel Zombie. This seems to be the only thing he's ever written. However, we actually start the issue off with some pretty decent character development from the perspective of the main, I guess, the sort of ride-along character, Danny. He's a young boy who's surviving the zombie apocalypse. And so we get a letter from him to his mother. All of the things I'm talking about should be on the screen. So basically he's saying, you know, when this is all over, I can't wait to see you again. The Defenders are protecting us. Spider-Man's a cool guy. Sam Wilson is flying around, blah, 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 blah. Right? And so we're just sort of establishing the world. We set up this story where this child is looking for his mother, right? And so we'd expect that at some point the Chekhov's letter, so to speak, would be paid off. We'd get some sort of catharsis, some sort of conclusion, some sort of payoff for that letter that takes up a whole page of the comic. Absolutely not. We don't get any payoff for that whatsoever. It's actually a pretty decent part of characterization and setup right off the bat before the story even starts. And just completely shat the bed. Does not come up again. So here we have Simon the Zombie. Now, Zombie is a character from Marvel Comics created in the 50s by, like, Stan Lee. I don't know anything about Simon the Zombie, but he is the sort of de facto protagonist of this story. Most of the story is told from his perspective, and he's sort of like the only sentient zombie. He's sort of special. I don't know how he fits into this narrative, if Simon was always zombie like in the Marvel Comics, or if he was a guy named Simon who becomes zombie. Unclear why he's special or how anything works, but he does have this necklace, which is a potential explanation, but it's just kind of out of nowhere because you're using a pre-established character but not using anything from the pre-established character. Not that I'm offended. I mean, I don't care about this character. I don't know anything about him. But it's weird to make that zombie character your protagonist and then not have him be the character that you would recognize if you were into 50s Marvel horror. And so we see some familiar characters like the Kingpin and the Mole Man and Norman Osborn and stuff. And it just it's awful coincidental. I don't mean this as a huge criticism for the book, because of course you're going to see some familiars, which is what they call zombies, who are characters from Marvel Comics. It just seems like shockingly frequent that there are over 8 million people in New York, and the most of the characters we're seeing are characters we're familiar with. One thing I will say for this book, I think it's absolutely terrible. I think it's one of the worst comics I've ever read. Certainly one of the worst comics I've read in recent history. One thing I will say for it, though, is one criticism I have of the original Marvel Zombies is how, like, grotesque and unnecessary it is. And a lot of that is skipped. Like, we don't see any of our heroes as zombies, and they're certainly not, like, crying over having, like, eaten their loved ones, which is a little much for me. If you've seen any of my previous videos where I talked about Marvel Zombies, I go pretty detailed into my my reasons for not being a huge fan of that franchise in those. But anyway, so basically the thesis is here that, like, oh, you know, zombies should have empathy for humans because of course they used to be people. And we see this little girl and this boy, and the boy finds a necklace that matches Simon's necklace, and I don't think this little girl ever shows up again. Like, the Defenders are there, and the surviving heroes are Daredevil, Spider-Man, Moon Girl, Misty Knight, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and Falcon. So, as usual, the only superpowered being still left after the zombie apocalypse is Spider-Man. But they are the defenders, and for some reason, Daredevil insists on calling himself Red Leader, even though I'm pretty sure Daredevil doesn't care about Star Wars because he's blind. I've never heard Daredevil reference Star Wars, I don't think. It's weird that he insists on calling himself Red Leader. It would be one thing if everybody else called him Red Leader, but people are continuously saying how strange he is for insisting that everyone call him Red Leader and calling himself Red Leader. So it's strange. It's a little... Also, he's wearing his Netflix helmet, which is a bit odd, because everybody else is dressed in comic book attire. But yeah, it's just peculiar. So the defenders are the poorly dressed defenders. They should all be wearing something to cover their arms and legs from potential zombie bites and necks, but none of them are. They're fighting a bunch of zombies, and Moon Girl has this devil dinosaur that she made out of robot parts, and so Spider-Man fights a weird flabby Doc Ock and rips his spine out. And I guess that's supposed to be humorous. And, yeah, I mean... Yeah, I'm just looking through the book here. So the boy and the girl get separated, and, I don't think we ever see the little girl again. We don't see what happens to her. We don't know if she's alive. It doesn't come up again. She just exits the story because the boy trips over a hill, and he's approached by Simon the zombie, who notices that he has another necklace that looks like his, and Simon saves him. So Simon actively fights the zombies to save the boy because he believes that zombies should not be eating people because they used to be people. And so Zombie and the boy become friends, and then we cut back to some guy, and some guy has been bitten by a zombie, and he's like, oh no, I'm still human, please don't shoot me, because Black Widow's gonna fucking kill him. And he's like, oh, I'm a human being, please. And she's like, not anymore, blam. And Spider-Man characteristically gets pissed off about this. Spider-Man's kind of the only one who's kind of in character in this, but even Spider-Man's not really in character. This whole thing is just ridiculous. Lunella, or whatever, Moon Girl, is just a total asshole the whole time. She's a straight-up sociopath in this book. Straight-up a sociopath in this book. And she's making a weird necro bomb, and it's a made-up word, it's a made-up abbreviation, and Daredevil asks her what necrobomb means, and she condescends to him by saying neutron emitting cellular regeneration outbursts, or retrogression outbursts, duh. It uses sideways nuclear fusion to create fission to create a 3-block radial blast, and it's almost done. But there's a catch. Basically, it means that it needs a radioactive element, and so she's going to strap it to somebody. She's trying to get one of the heroes to volunteer to strap it themselves and become a suicide bomber, because it requires radiation, only trace amounts of radiation, by the way. It requires trace amounts of radiation to as a catalyst, I guess, for the explosion, and which doesn't make any sense. It's all complete fucking nonsense. It's just contrived plot convenience for the sake of getting the book forward. Personally, I think this book should have been much longer than it is. It's only 32 pages. If you're going to do a story like this, either do a mini-series or have a 50-page special or something. But, it's so stupid. Anyway, so Lunella, rather than volunteering herself, tries to get somebody else to volunteer to commit suicide to fight a few zombies with it. And, you know, neither Matt or Peter... Because, okay, so here's the thing. Peter is one of the smartest people alive. On a bad day, there's no reason that Peter wouldn't be able to find an alternative to this, given that both his blood and Matt Murdock's blood have like an innate radioactive nature to them. So there's like, unless everybody in this book is a fucking idiot, because it's trace amounts of radiation that's used as a catalyst for this bomb. They ended up strapping it to Simon the zombie because he still has like trace amounts of radiation in him because he's a person, or he was a person. Here's the thing. You don't need trace amounts of anything. You take a little bit of Spider-Man's blood or a little bit of Daredevil's blood, either one of them, like nobody has to die. You can take just a little bit of either Spider-Man or Daredevil's blood, put it in the bomb, and it'll work infinitely better than strapping it to a person. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what? It's just so stupid and unnecessary. It's a stupid, contrived reason to have somebody that needs to die so that they can strap the bomb to them and create these artificial stakes for the setup that they're doing later. It's so the zombie and the little boy come in, and Donnie, the little kid, he stands in front of Zombie so that Black Widow doesn't shoot him because she's a fucking sociopath in this. And they realize that he can like control Zombie with the amulet, and so Moon Girl uses the amulet to make Zombie put the bomb on so that they can force him to like go out and kill himself for the sake of destroying the Horde, which is ridiculous because that's not how anything works. But anyway, so the Defenders are on the street and they're taking out this Horde. Spider-Man has webbed off several blocks of the city with his webbing, and Daredevil and Misty Knight and Black Widow and Hawkeye are all fighting the zombies, preparing for Zombie to go and Simon the zombie to go in and blow up the other zombies. And basically Donald, the boy Donald, says like, oh, you know, I'm friends with the zombie now. So what if instead of using Zombie to... Wait, by the way, Zombie is perfectly willing. He's already accepted it. Like, he's perfectly willing to volunteer his tribute and sacrifice himself for the Defenders because they're the last hope for humanity. They're trying to save the world and find a cure for the zombie plague. And so Simon the Zombie is perfectly willing to give him his life for that. But because Lunella lost Devil Dinosaur, she's sad about having lost a friend, and Donnie is like, oh, you know, I'm gonna lose my best friend who I met 5 minutes ago, literally 5 minutes ago. You know, I don't want my best friend who I met 5 minutes ago to kill himself, even though like that little girl is like his friend, presumably, and we don't see her, we don't know what happened to her, she disappears. She just never comes up again. We don't see her get eaten. We don't see her anywhere near a zombie. She just sort of disappears. But he doesn't seem even remotely concerned about that little girl at all. But for some reason, he's concerned about this, like, fucking zombie. And so Lunella decides to let the human race die, like sell out the human race so that Donnie can be friends with Zombie and Zombie doesn't have to die because she misses her dinosaur. She's a fucking psychopath. And so basically Lunella just sits there and watches, Moon Girl just sits there and watches as like Misty Knight and Daredevil and stuff are consumed by zombies. And that's it. She just fucking sit, and then they have the fucking audacity to have this pretentious like walk off into the sunset scene with Donnie and Zombie, even though there's absolutely no reason to believe that Donnie or that zombie would be able to keep Donnie safe from the zombies, because he was like barely able to save him from a few zombies at one point. I don't even know where to start with like tearing this apart logically, because it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Like, it doesn't even begin to make logical sense. And by the way, we don't see what happens to the rest of the defenders. We don't see what happens. Okay, sorry about that. The battery on the camera died. Resources are tight out here. Things are scarce, but if all goes well with the curse, everything should be over tonight. But just in case, I'm hunkered down for the long haul here, at least for now. Getting back to it, however, it's one of the worst comics I've ever read. Just like from a storytelling, there's no story. As much as I despise Marvel Zombies, the series, the franchise, at least Marvel Zombies has like a story. It's telling a story of some variety. This book, Marvel Zombie Singular, is not a story. There's no story. There's no like arc or flow or catharsis or thesis or anything. There's nothing. Nothing makes sense. Nothing connects. Nothing's saying anything. And Simon just decides that, like, all of a sudden that even though he thinks that zombies shouldn't eat humans and that, you know, people deserve to live, he just sort of does not give a shit at the end for some reason, all of a sudden. And this all happens, this whole book takes place over the course of like an hour. It's just complete fucking nonsense. It's just like... I mean, I can't even describe it. It's so nonsensical and stupid. Nothing works, nothing flows, nothing makes sense. Nothing's connected. There's no payoff for anything. It's just Lunella fucking sucks and she dooms humanity, presumably. And then that's it. And like that's the story. Is Lunella, Moon Girl, is a piece of shit and she just on a dime decides to fuck over the human race for literally no reason. For literally no reason. It's fucking ridiculous. You know, and I hate Moon Girl in general. I think she's an arrogant jackass. I think she's a fucking narcissist, and that's why nobody uses her in anything. But fuck me, man, is she terrible in this book. She is the most unlikable character in this book, potentially in Marvel Comics history. It's fucking astonishing. Fuck Moon Girl. Fuck this book. Fuck William Prince or whatever the hell. Marvel Zombie Singular sucks. I can't do it justice. You have to read it to believe it. It's just utter fucking nonsense, and I don't like it. Anyway, with that said, hopefully I'm returned to my native reality sometime tonight. And in the meantime, face front, true believers.